بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. We will have this series of videos in which I answer some of the questions of the students of the madrasa. If you are on my Instagram, and my apologies, I do not want anyone to be there. I'm just like picking people whom I know or people who might be beneficial to have on my Instagram. My account is restricted, and this is how I'm not really trying to reach everyone there in the world. I want something to be calm, and I want to feel comfortable on one of the only social media platform I have. However, if you are a student of the madrasa and you are on the group of the madrasa, some of the students asked very good questions there, and I will try to answer them in like a series of videos. This will be the first one of them. I'm not going to mention their names. I have not taken their permissions to mention their names. So we have here like 3 or 4 questions from the same person, and I think they are all related to the same topic. So the first one is, why following the opinions of a madhab matter versus cherry picking? The simple answer is because it's not as simple as cherry picking, you see. So actually using this expression cherry picking, this is very good actually, and it explains. So a part of the question answers the question itself. I think this is very simple from this perspective. Following the opinions of the madhab matter, and I think we've talked about this before, but let's give a short answer on this one. Following the opinions of the madhab matters because it's the relied upon position. This phrase, the relied upon position, this has a great value. It is the position that 1,200 years of studying al-fiqh led to. Actually, I would, and I think this is one of the other questions, I would call it the most correct position, the rajih, if you want to call it the rajih, the favored position, the relied upon position. This is what should be called a rajih actually, if you follow a certain madhab. But we can talk later about the idea of rajih in general. We've already discussed these things, but I'm trying to answer everything that these students sent me or suggested. Another important point: are you qualified to do that cherry picking? Are you qualified to favor, or are you just going to follow my choices? Maybe if I favor like a group of opinions, you'll just take them because I have favored them and you really trust me. I think you should trust the culmination, yes, of the Hanbali madhab more. Do not just trust me, one person, just trust 1,200 years of al-fiqh. Yeah. What makes Imam Ahmad's madhab such a blessing to the ummah? Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiallahu anhu was a great scholar, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam promised him a lot of things. How he promised him, why do you believe in these dreams, the ru'ah that these people saw? I believe in these things. I choose to believe in these things, and I have evidence that this is the true way of dealing with these things. You lack this knowledge, yani this does not change how I see facts, or how I see things, or how I even see al-dhunun, even if they are not certainties. Yeah. It's a blessing because it is one of the few madhahib, or the only madhab actually. It's one of the few madhahib in general, and the only madhab among the 4 madhahib, in which one can call himself Hanbali in fiqh, Hanbali in al-aqaid, Hanbali in al-tasawwuf. Actually, this is not my innovation or invention or anything. This is the meaning of what Ibn Rajab, Al-Hafiz Zainuddin ibn Rajab radiallahu anhu says in الرد على من اتبع غير المذاهب الأربعة, this short treatise in the refutation of people who follow other than the four madhahib. It's a blessing because it brings what we call it taysir to people's lives, unlike this bad reputation that the Hanbali madhab is a difficult madhab that has very difficult rulings. I think the Hanbali madhab is one of the easiest madhab, especially when it comes to transactions. And you might call it a progressive madhab, even though the word progressive might have a very bad meaning, or like it is associated with bad meanings, bad connotations. Yeah, but it is a very good madhab, and it's a flexible madhab that suits the needs of like people nowadays, especially when it comes to al-mu'amalat or financial transactions, or the fiqh of al-mu'amalat. It's a blessing because it's the madhab of the imam of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the last imam of the four. That's why it's a privilege, and it's a huge blessing, because the madhab in its transmission relied heavily on usul hadith. Yeah, I can keep mentioning its merits and why it is a blessing, but I think this should be sufficient. Those who make the deen difficult for others, i.e., you know who. I think I had a discussion with this student about this mas'ala. Some people think that it is more righteous, or that religiousness dictates that they make things more difficult, or that they take the difficult positions, and it's a whole narrative. It's like a complete narrative that they have, and they read the biographies or the siyar of some of the a'imma of the salaf, and how they lived difficult lives and how they avoided permissible things just because they were like having al-wara', az-zuhd in their lives and everything. And these things are usually no one offers you a complete narrative. Usually it's a narrative that a Wahhabi offers you, and it's made of other narratives, but he picks in a very selective manner. The Wahhabi preacher or the Shaykh picks some scenes, yes, and then he puts them, or she puts them together. Then he shows you a complete narrative. This narrative is not the Salaf's, it is his or hers, the Wahhabis. The problem is that usually we do not really follow a methodological way in evaluating things. It's no fiqh in the general meaning of al-fiqh, يعني. Not the fiqh which is the studying of al-ahkam rulings. No, al-fiqh, al-fahm, yeah, يعني good understanding of things, good analysis, critical thinking. This is al-fiqh. There is no fiqh in how we deal with these things. Usually we just get emotional, and we respond with our emotions to these things that we receive from preachers or half scholars, or even people who call themselves scholars among the Wahhabiyya. I'm mentioning Wahhabiyya because in her question she mentions you know whom. I know what she means. Unlike what people think, al-fiqh is taysir. Al-faqih is the one who brings you a rukhsa, if possible. If it can be brought, this is al-faqih. Not the person who tells you to follow al-wara'. Anyone can. Babul wara'i wasi'. This is the principle. Babul wara'i wasi' means that if you want al-wara', yes, if you want to avoid things, because this is religious, because this is the righteous thing to do, this is easy. You can avoid everything, and you will be rewarded, hopefully, unless you are a very foolish person who does not know what's happening, what's being done. Yes. However, this is not al-fiqh. This is not al-fiqh. In my experience, al-Wahhabiyya, it's like they do, they have this strong belief, and in their application they do this always. They show people that the only right way of practicing deen is when it is difficult. In people's minds, religiousness is associated with the hardships they go through in practicing their religion. This is the opposite of al-fiqh, and this is not how the Prophet, his companions, and the Salaf practiced their deen as a community, not individuals, as a community. And this is what's happening. Yes? I believe even when we study one madhab and you take all of its rulings, you'll see that these people made a deen or have made a deen unnecessarily difficult. It gets uncovered only when you study a madhab, a full madhab, without taking the other opinions from other madhab. One madhab, that's it. You'll see how it's not as difficult as these people claim it to be. Because sometimes they just choose the difficult position because in their heads it's the righteous thing to do. In their heads, actually, it's the righteous thing to do. What's happening in reality is that it's just their desires. You desire something to be difficult so that you feel satisfied with your practice. And this is the first problem that faces the converts. And I do not mean people who come to al-Islam, people who leave al-Wahhabi and they revert to al-Islam when they leave al-Wahhabi. I call them reverts or converts. I'm not saying that al-Wahhabi are kuffar. It's just my way of expressing this idea. That they feel that things are easier now. What shall we do about this? Things are easier now, and I do not feel as religious as I used to feel. If they pass this exam, if they pass this difficult exam, actually at the very beginning of their journey from al-Wahhabiyya to the madhab of Ahl Sunnah al Jama'ah in general, I think they succeed and they keep they maintain their religiousness and their righteousness in a very healthy manner and in a correct way. Yes, I think I will take more questions probably in the next videos. This is enough for one video. والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم وصلي اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.